case docket that was initially investigated by the first team?
Yes, my lord. So, if I understand correctly, and Advocate Minister will correct me if perhaps I'm misunderstanding him,
Yes.
the docket that is before court, the docket that I inherited on the 18th of November 2018, is the same docket that was investigated by the previous investigator. So I inherited that docket and carried on with the investigation.
Ingabe ke siyazi ke ukuthi nethimba ke elaliphenya ngaphambi kokuthi ke qobe wena ke ingaba ke idokodo leleko walithola ke kulo thimba yini? Yebo, idokodo leli ke ekuyilona phambi kwenkantolo yilona leli engalithola ke kulabo ababekhona ke bephenya ngaphambi kokuthi kuqobe mina.
Thank you. We are together there. Now, subsequent to the receipt of the case docket, is it correct that then you went through that case docket to find out if there is something or things or statements or form of information in that case docket which would assist you to carry out the mandate that came from General Sithole?
So the initial part, my lord, as I indicated, was first to establish, because that's what we seized with, to establish as to whether they were intruders or no intruders. That was a primary task. That, for me, that was a kick-off point, because there was, as I've said earlier, my lord, this assertion or allegations that there may have been no intruders. Once that part was cleared on my mind, that indeed, and based on the fact that I've articulated to this court, my lord, that they were intruders, then the process of trying to find the so-called perpetrators was then embarked upon, my lord.
Okokuqala ke bengikushilo ke lokhu ngaphambilini ukuthi ke kwakuwubhekabe noma ke futhi kwakuyibona ke esasikutsheliwe ke lokho ukuthi ke asiqiniseke noma sithole ke ukuthi babe khona yini abangena ke endlini, ngoba ke kwakuwukuthi ke kufuneka ukwazi ke ukuthi ngempela kwangena abantu noma cha. Ilapho ke ngaqala khona ke uma ke manje sekutholakele ke lokho noma sekutholile ukuthi ngempela ke bakhona abantu abangena, kwakumanje ke ukuthola ke labo bantu labo ekuyibona abakwenza lokho.
And that exercise, my lord, was extended to the other members as well, to say collectively but individually, not sitting together so that we don't influence each other. We should actually look into the docket individually and then come up with the views based on evidence as to whether there were intruders or no intruders, and then work the investigation according to that, my lord. In other words, the drafting of the investigation plan would have been motivated by the facts of whether there were no intruders or there were intruders.
Futhi ke nokuthi ke manje sikhulumisana ke siyithimba ukuthi ke umuntu futhi ke azenzeleke singahlanganyeli ke lokho ukuthi ke omunye manje bese thola umthelela komunye, ukuthi ke siqiniseke noma sithole ukuthi ngempela babe khona yini abantu abangena, bese ukuthi manje ke iplan ke yalo uphenyo ke izohamba ke ngokwaloko esikutholile.
Yes, I'm done, my lord, sorry.
Thank you, sir. So amongst others, the reason why you ultimately had to conclude that they were indeed intruders, it was because you went through the statements of the witnesses who were in the house, and so?
No, not really. As I've said, my lord, the people who were in the house were questionable to me. So I didn't really want to rely on. I wanted to rely on the circumstances around it to see if there's credence or there's evidence to support what is being alleged. So what I relied on was the statements of the neighbors. If we talk about statements, my lord, was the reliance of the cell phone, which I've indicated, my lord, that it was picked up at a different tower when everyone else could be accounted for at the hospital. It was the issue of the DNA, my lord, where I said there was a DNA which excluded the people who were in the house, because one would have expected that if there were no intruders, that DNA that was found in the house should have been read into the people who were in the house. But there was a DNA that was picked up there which excluded everyone in the house. What it indicated, there was a donor except the people who were in the house. So I looked at the statements of the neighbors, and I tried to look at the forensic evidence in the form of the cell phone tower in relation to the phone that was alleged that it was robbed, the movement of Mr. Longe's Twala insofar as the tracking system of how it went, my lord, and the DNA, because those for me were reliable, were credible. That was credible evidence. But in addition, then I looked at the neighbors, which in my view, my lord, as I said, I couldn't find reasons to believe that these people could be influenced. Then yes, indeed, what those people said, I then matched it with what the people were saying in the house. But my focus was not on them, because at that stage, I was not sure as to whether what they were saying was the truth or not at the beginning, my lord.
Ekuqaleni-ke kwakhona-ke noma-ke ngangingancikanga kwiy'tatimende zabantu ababesendlini-ke ngoba-ke kwakukhona-ke ukusola-ke ngakumina-ke futhi-ke ngingazi-ke ukuthi noma lokho abakushoyo kuyiqiniso noma cha. Ngabheka-ke iy'tatimende zabomakhelwane-ke ngoba ngithola-ke noma-ke kunento ethi-ke bona-ke akukho la noma-ke okunomthelela kubona-ke nokubheka-ke futhi-ke ithawa nokuthi-ke i-cellphone noma-ke umakhalekhukhwini lo ekuthiwa uwona-ke owathathwa-ke khona lapho ukuthi wawukuphi-ke yena-ke uMr Longo ethwala manje-ke kwase ngihlanganisa-ke nalokhu okuyikona-ke okushiwo abantu ababesendlini-ke nobheka futhi-ke omakhelwane, kodwa hhayi ukuthi nganginqike kulaba ababesendlini. Bese futhi-ke sikhuluma ngalo-ke ilibofuzo noma-ke i-DNA.
Brigadier, my question was, amongst others, you were assisted by the statements that you found in the docket, whose statement of the witnesses were in the house, to come to the conclusion that they were indeed intruders. That was my question.
Yeah, but my lord, that's what I was answering, that it was not really that, because those statements were questionable. It was only the corroboration at the later stage, the corroboration when I was now satisfied that these people outside, in addition to the evidence that I spoke about, that the scientific evidence, my lord, what these people are saying in bits and pieces corroborates with what these people inside the house were looking at. But for me to come to a conclusion or to a view that they were indeed intruders, I wasn't guided by the statements that were in the house, because the people who were in the house at that stage, my lord, were questionable. I was not sure whether what they were saying was the truth or not. So I wanted to be informed by reliable sort of like evidence or statements that at least I can count on, my lord, to say these people have no reason to lie. But yes, once that perception or understanding was formed, I then looked at what was containing inside the house in terms of the statements that were made, which then made me find a corroboration with what other people were saying outside, my lord.
Kodwa-ke kuwona-ke lo mbuzo engikuphendulayo ukuthi ngangingancikile-ke kuloko noma kwiy'tatimende zabantu ababesendlini-ke ngoba-ke mina kwakukhona-ke ngabazi okwakukhona-ke mayelana nabantu ababesendlini ukuthi lokho abakushoyo kuyiqiniso noma cha. Ingakho-ke ngisho-ke ukuthi ngase kubheka-ke manje iy'tatimende zomakhelwane ukuthi bona-ke bathini. Kamuva-ke uma sengikuhlanganisa-ke ngathola ukuthi impela lokhu abakushoyo abantu abasendlini ngempela-ke nabo omakhelwane basho khona lokho, ukuthi ngizothola-ke ukuthi ngempela bakhona abantu abangena noma cha.
Are you done with your explanation?
I'm done. The other part that I looked at, my lord, was the ballistic. I didn't mention it, which is forensic as well, that I looked at, my lord.
Okunye engakushongo-ke engakhulumanga ngakho-ke ubufakazi-ke obuphathelene ney'bhamu phecelezi-ke ama-ballistic.
Yes, my lord. I'm done, my lord.
Thank you. Now, just mentioned or indicated in your explanation that the statements of the people who were in the house were questionable. Can you explain how questionable were they and why do you say they were questionable?
I'm saying, my lord, they were questionable in relation to what I was seized with at the beginning, the fact-finding mission. Not that I read the statement and I said these statements are not the truth. I'm saying at the beginning it was a fact-finding mission, my lord, of establishing whether the people who were inside the house are telling the truth when they say they were intruders or they're actually lying. Because there was this cloud hanging around them, my lord, I didn't want to be contaminated by what they are saying. I wanted to rely on more reliable evidence around them. So the questionability, it's in that instance, my lord. Not that I was saying what X and Y is saying is actually not correct. It was simply my view to say, because there's a cloud around these people, let me park them. Let me look at the preliminary investigations around these individuals, including, my lord, the first responding officers. I didn't touch base on them, Matebula and Mteto, those people, to say when they arrive at the scene, what first response or report was given to them. So it was to establish whether there's credence in what the people who were in the house were saying or not. So So the unreliability is insofar as that, not what they said, my lord.
Uma ngithi-ke kwakukhona-ke uba nemibuzo-ke noma bekhona-ke umbabaza-ke mayelana nabantu ababesendlini, angisho ukuthi-ke uma kuwukuthi-ke othize washo lokhu ngangithi mina-ke akusilona-ke iqiniso lokhu, ngoba-ke ngaleso sikhathi leso-ke kwakuwukuthola iqiniso ukuthi ngempela kwenzekani-ke ukubhekana. Ngathi-ke manje ngibahoqise-ke laba ke ngibheke obunye ubufakazi-ke, yingakho ngikhuluma ngabo-ke omakhelwane. Okunye futhi-ke ngakushilo ilamaphoyisa-ke afika aqala-ke kwindawo yesigameko, umathebula kanye nomthetho, ukuthi lokho abakutshelwa yiba abantu labo besendlini ukuthi kuyahlangana yini-ke nalokho. Yingakho ngisho ukuthi-ke ekuqaleni kwakuwukuthola iqiniso ukuthi kwenzekani.
Yes, my lord.
Are you done?
Yes, I'm done, my lord.
Now, what is it that you found in their statements as you went through them, if you did, that made you to come and say that their statements were questionable?
My lord, I thought I answered it. I thought I dealt with it just now, that it wasn't insofar as what they were saying. I've answered it, my lord, that it was in relation to the fact-finding mission, whether they were intruders or not the analysis of what they were saying. I was not there. It was simply saying, these people, there's a cloud around them, that they may be lying, because that was the essence of what was being said. Because if there were no intruders, my lord, and yet the statements are saying they were intruders, the inference that one can draw without a shadow of a doubt is that these people are lying. So my mission, or rather my first point of departure, my lord, which I felt was important for the investigation team, was for us to be certain whether we are pursuing the people who were inside the house insofar as this matter is concerned, or we are looking for intruders. Hence I took the view, my view, that I'm going to ignore what these people who are inside the house are saying and look at objective evidence. And that is where now your forensics evidence comes in, your DNA, your ballistics, the AVL that I spoke about, my lord, the cell phone locations, in addition to the neighbors, because I wanted to be guided by that preliminary report, my lord, including the first responders, the call that came through, before the first responder came in. So it was based on that. So when I say the people who were inside the house, they were issued their statement, I'm not saying I read and found difficulties. I wanted to park them and be informed or guided by objective evidence, my lord, so to say.
Uma ngikhuluma-ke nabantu laba basendlini ngithi-ke kwakukhona-ke umbuzo-ke noma-ke umbabaza-ke engikushoyo ukuthi-ke kwakunaleli fu-ke la ekuthiwa khona-ke noma ekucabangela kakhona-ke ukuthi labantu kungenzeka-ke ukuthi baqamba amanga-ke. Manje-ke kwakuwukubheka-ke ukuthi lokho abakushoyo kuyiqiniso, babe khona yini abantu abangena lapho-ke endlini. Yingakho ngisho-ke ukuthi-ke ngathi-ke angibeke-ke lokho bakho-ke ngimeke ngalokho bona-ke abakushoyo. Yingakho ngikhulumile ngobufakazi bama-AVL, ama-cellphone locations kanye namaphoyisa okuqala ekuyiwona afika-ke lapho. Kwakuwukuhlanganisa-ke ukuthi-ke laba basendlini basho lokhu. Ingaba abanye abantu-ke manje-ke amaphoyisa okuqala afika lapho atshelwani wona, khulumane ama-cellphone kanye futhi-ke nayo i-AVL. Hhayi ukuthi ngangithi lokho ababekusho kwiy'tatimende zabo babeqamba amanga.
Sorry, my lord, when I say EVL, I'm actually referring to the tracking system in Mr. Longest Twala, just to use the right chronology of the words, my lord.
Uma-ke ngikhuluma ngayo i-AVL ngisho ngayo-ke ukutrack-ke noma-ke ukulandela-ke i-tracking system mayelana-ke uMr. Longwethwala.
Yes, I'm done.
Despite that long, winding answer, you made it very clear, you said it very clear, that the statements of the people who were in the house, who witnessed this incident, were questionable. Now my question is very pertinent. What is it that you found in your statement when you went through them to make you say that their statements were questionable?
I think the witnesses explained at least on 3 occasions as to why, he said that he elaborated. I don't know why he's been asked the same question now for, I think, the 3rd or 4th time.
15 minutes.
Family, I'm back again. Yeah, this is Zebra Family Channel. We are back again, family. We're here to interrogate and try to analyze what we see is going on in court. Have you subscribed, family? Don't forget to subscribe, family. In this court, can anyone tell me how do you view Rata's facial appearance since Mnisi started, more especially in this video? Can you please monitor Rata's facial expression if he is happy? And if he is not happy, what do you think is happening in that court? I want to touch a few things, family, here. I want to touch the issue of DNA that excluded people who were in the house. Number two, I want to touch the questionable statements of the people who were in the house. Number three, I want to touch on ballistic. And number four, I want to touch as to how the scene was constructed, because the construction of the scene, according to me, it is constructed outside the eyewitnesses, because Brigadier GININDA did not trust the people who were in the house, eyewitnesses. That's why we have a gun today that is called a 9mm, instead of the gun that was seen by the people who were in the house with a will, a 38 special. That's where we are. But reading in between the lines, listening to what Brigadier has been testifying on when he was interrogated by advocate, the brilliant one, advocate Mnisi, who has understood how to question Brigadier GININDA. He has lowered his temper, because Mnisi, sometimes he can pull up his temper in no time if you play around with him. But what is smart about Mnisi? He has realized that he will not get everything from GININDA if he picks his temper. He has come cool. Even when GININDA tried to narrate and keep on going in a simple question, like when he was asked, you are saying the people in the house statements were questionable. Give me an example of why are you saying their statements were questionable. Oh my God. It was dark and dive, up and down, down and up, sideways, left, right, center, everywhere. That is where Brigadier was going. It really bugged my mind. Let me come to the DNA that Brigadier talked about, that all the people who were in the house were excluded on the DNA. That means it changed his focus, not to concentrate on the people in the house, because it means they were intruders. That is what informed him. Then he started concentrating from outside. Even when he is concentrating outside, he's saying he tracked Longwe's movement, because there was a belief that Longwe is the one who deleted Senzo's life. But what GININDA is not answering there, where did he get the information that the cell phone was missing? Because he said he did not read the statements of the people who were in the house, because it's where he was going to get that information. But now he was tracing Longwe Twala, following the phone, which Trawa was it catching, the runaway phone that is said it was stolen by the so-called intruders. To me, it doesn't make sense, because in the same video, he's saying he didn't read, because he doesn't. I think he's going to go back to YouTube and start to listen to himself, how he was answering the question, why Mnisi was always repeating the question, because I think he didn't understand, or he did understand, he was just playing around with Mnisi. Okay, on the DNA, there's something that makes me laugh. DNA, people who were in the house were excluded. People who are in the dock are excluded in the same DNA, but they're still under this case. They were never kicked out, like, okay, because the DNA is excluding you guys, we cannot go on with you. Let's look for the right people who deleted Senzo Mayo. But they're kept behind bars. It doesn't make sense at all. And what has made me not understand how GININDA and Baloyi were working together in this case from the start to the end. Baloyi knew everything, but Muhola was a messenger. The people who were assigned to work or investigate with Brigadier GININDA were left not knowing exactly how the investigation was going. They were just praying GININDA as their boss. It doesn't make sense to me. Let's come to the ballistic that he talked about the ballistic as well. That the gun, okay, he talked about ballistic. When he talks about ballistic, obviously he's talking about the gun. But he is ignoring the evidence from the people who were eyewitnesses in the house that they saw a gun that had a wheel, it was black and it was old. He decided to go and get a certain gun, a 9mm, not a gun with a wheel in the middle. And they will pin it to accused number 3. It doesn't make sense. Because now he is exposing himself. I think that is what the judge feel like. I thought this guy was a smart guy. He was a brigadier. If you look at the judge, the way he was frowning his face, the way his facial appearance was not in a bubble like he's always in a bubble all the time in court, doing all these funny things, being an interrogator, being a defense, being a prosecutor, shouting, doing whatever, turning the court into a tavern. But today, he was disappointed. You could see his facial expression, that his facial expression had a million questions in it. And the way he stood up when he went for break, it shocked a lot of people in court. He just stood like that and just go. He has never done that, no matter how angry he is. So there's a lot to read in between the lines there. How did the confession, how was it written? Now the picture or the puzzle is starting to connect that people who were working on this fabricated case was Baloyi and GININDA. Those are the two people. Those other people there, they didn't want them because they were disturbing them. That's why Baloyi, at the end of the day, he ended up picking the case that was brought by GININDA, not the other case 375, and they turned that case to be something else so that nobody believes. They belittle even the people who were investigating that case. Family, there's a lot to read in this. What do you think about the facial expression of Rata, the cool that he took today? Was he surprised? Was he shocked how GININDA was running away instead of answering simple questions? And the fact that he realized that Baloyi was part of the game and today he's a prosecutor in the same case? Did it surprise? Can anybody just come up with something and tell us exactly what you think? What made Rata feel uncomfortable today in that court? Because you could see that he was not comfortable at all. Drop your comment. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I want to leave this message to all YouTubers who are concentrating on this Senzo Meyiwa case for the family to get closure. I want to applaud you guys because you are doing a fantastic job. And in that court, they are feeling the heat. And the heat is too much. Let's put more pressure. And let's not forget that what we are doing for our own children. They must find really justice in our country, not this country that is being turned to be a banana republic. Until the family gets closure, it's when he will rest. Bravo, bravo.